Dr. Amanda Clark wiped the sweat from her forehead as she knelt beside the excavation site. The twin suns of Kepler 442c beat down mercilessly on the barren landscape, making her wonder why ancient civilizations always seemed to pick the most uncomfortable places to hide their secrets. She had been digging in this forsaken wasteland for 3 months, and her back ached from countless hours bent over ancient ruins. "Another dead end," muttered Commander Jake Morrison, tossing his scanner onto the dusty ground. The tall, broad-shouldered military officer had volunteered for this mission-expecting adventure, not endless digging in the dirt. His dark hair was streaked with gray dust, and his usually pristine uniform looked like it had been through a sandstorm. Amanda looked up at him with tired eyes. "Science takes patience, Jake. We can't just blast our way to discoveries like you did in the war." "At least in the war, things exploded when I wanted them to," Jake replied, but his tone was gentle. He had grown to respect the small, determined archaeologist over the past months. Her brown hair was always pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her clothes were chosen for function over fashion, but her mind was sharper than any weapon he had ever carried. Veltar the Wise approached them, his forearms moving in the complex gestures that passed for walking among his people. The Zephyrian stood nearly 8 feet tall, his blue-scaled skin shimmering in the harsh sunlight. His large, black eyes reflected ancient wisdom, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "The deep scans show something unusual. Beneath the next sector," Veltar said, his words carefully chosen. The Zephyrians had been exploring space for over 10,000 years, and they rarely got excited about anything. "The readings are different from anything in our databases." Shard of truth-seeking chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. The crystalline being stood 7 feet tall, her body made of living crystal that caught and reflected light in beautiful patterns. When she spoke, her voice rang like music. "The resonance patterns suggest artificial construction. Very old, very large." Amanda felt her heart skip a beat. After months of finding nothing but broken pottery and corroded metal, the possibility of a real discovery made her hands shake with excitement. "How large are we talking?" "Approximately 200 meters in length," Veltar replied. "Buried under 40 meters of sediment. The construction material is unknown to our science." Jake picked up his scanner and checked the readings himself. His military training had taught him to trust but verify everything. That's bigger than most ships in the fleet. What kind of civilization builds something that sighs and then buries it? "One that had reason to hide," Shard of Truth-Seeking replied, her crystal form pulsing with soft light. "The energy signatures are dormant, but the patterns suggest incredible complexity. This is not a simple vessel." Amanda was already packing her tools. "We need to get down there. If this is what I think it is, we could be looking at the discovery of the century." The excavation took 2 full days. The team worked in shifts, using careful techniques to preserve whatever lay beneath the surface. Amanda insisted on doing much of the delicate work herself, her small hands better suited to the precise movements required. Jake and the others handled the heavy lifting, slowly revealing more of the mysterious object. When the first section of the craft became visible, everyone stopped working. The surface was made of a material that looked like polished obsidian, but it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols covered every inch of the exposed surface, carved so deeply they looked like they had been burned into the material. "I have never seen anything like this," Veltar admitted, and coming from someone whose people had explored half the galaxy, that was saying something. "The symbols do not match any known language or writing system." Amanda ran her fingers over the symbols, feeling their smooth edges. "They're not just decorative. Look at the way they connect to each other. This is some kind of technical schematic, but the technology is completely alien." Dr. Peter Hayes, the team's linguist, had been silent for most of the excavation. He was a quiet man who preferred books to people, but his knowledge of ancient languages was unmatched. "The pattern suggests mathematical relationships. Not just writing, but some kind of equation or formula." Jake was more practical. "Can we get inside?" "All the symbols in the galaxy won't help us if we can't see what this thing actually is." The Team spent hours looking for an entrance, but the craft seemed to be made from a single piece of material. No seams, no doors, no obvious way to get inside. Veltar tried using his people's advanced scanning technology, but the readings were confusing and contradictory. The internal structure seems to shift when observed, he reported. Either our equipment is malfunctioning, or this craft exists in a state of quantum uncertainty. Sharda of Truth-Seeking attempted to use her natural crystalline resonance to communicate with the craft, but nothing happened. The crystalline people could usually interface with any technology given enough time, but this vessel remained completely silent. Maybe it's just dead, Jake suggested. 50,000 years is a long time. Even the best technology breaks down eventually. Amanda wasn't convinced. Something about the craft called to her as if it were waiting for something. She had felt the same way about other archaeological sites, but never this strongly. Let me try something. She approached the craft slowly, her heart pounding. The symbols seemed to pulse with faint light as she got closer, though the others couldn't see it. When she was close enough to touch the surface, she hesitated. Amanda, be careful, Jake warned. We don't know what kind of defensive systems this thing might have. She nodded but didn't step back. Something deep inside her insisted that the craft was not dangerous, at least not to her. Taking a deep breath, she placed her bare hand flat against the obsidian surface. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The entire craft began to hum with energy, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The symbols carved into. The surface began to glow with soft white light, and the light spread outward from where Amanda's hand touched the vessel. Jake reached for his weapon, but Veltar held up one of his 4 arms. Wait, the energy readings are not hostile. The craft is awakening. The glow intensified, and suddenly a section of the seemingly solid wall simply disappeared. Where there had been nothing but smooth obsidian, now there was an opening large enough for a person to walk through. Soft light spilled out from inside, and Amanda could see what looked like a corridor leading deeper into the craft. Impossible, Shard of Truth-Seeking chimed. Solid matter cannot simply cease to exist. The molecular bonds should prevent such a transformation. Amanda stared at the opening, her hand still pressed against the craft's surface. She could feel something flowing between her and the vessel, like a conversation conducted in a language she didn't understand but somehow knew perfectly. It's not impossible, she said quietly. It's just technology we don't understand yet. The craft was waiting for something, for someone. Jake moved to stand beside her, his weapon ready but not raised. Waiting for what? Amanda finally took her hand away from the surface. The opening remained, and the soft light continued to glow from within. I think, she said slowly, it was waiting for a human. The implications of her words settled over the team like a heavy blanket. If the craft responded only to human touch, what did that mean about its creators? And more importantly, what did it mean about humanity's place in the galaxy? Well, Jake said after a long moment, I guess we're going inside. Amanda stepped through the opening first, her heart racing with excitement and fear. The interior of the craft was nothing like she had expected. Instead of the dark, cramped spaces she had imagined, she found herself in a wide corridor filled with soft, golden light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Stay close, Jake whispered, following behind her with his weapon drawn. His military training made him suspicious of anything that seemed too easy or too welcoming. This could be a trap? The corridor stretched ahead of them for what looked like 50 meters, with smooth walls that curved gently upward. The same strange symbols that covered the outside of the craft were carved into the walls here, but these ones pulsed with a faint blue light that seemed to respond to their presence. Veltar entered next, his 4 arms moving carefully as he scanned the area with his equipment. The atmosphere is breathable for all of us, he reported. Temperature and pressure are perfectly suited for human comfort. Either this is an incredible coincidence or this craft was designed with humans in mind. Shard of Truth-Seeking chimed as she passed through the opening, her crystalline form reflecting the golden light in beautiful patterns. The energy flowing through these walls is unlike anything in our databases, It appears to be some form of controlled quantum field, but the principles behind it are completely unknown. Dr. Peter Hayes brought up the rear, his eyes wide as he studied the symbols on the walls. The writing is definitely mathematical, but it's using concepts I don't recognize. It's like looking at advanced calculus when you only know basic arithmetic. Amanda felt drawn forward by something she couldn't explain. Every step she took deeper into the craft felt right, as if she were walking through a place she had been before. The sensation was so strong it made her dizzy. "Amanda, wait," Jake called out. But she was already moving toward what looked like a large doorway at the end of the corridor. As she approached, the doorway dilated open like the iris of an eye, revealing a vast, circular chamber beyond. Amanda gasped as she stepped inside. The room was enormous, easily 100 meters across, with a domed ceiling that showed what looked like stars moving in slow patterns overhead. In the center of the chamber was a raised platform with what could only be described as a command chair. It was clearly designed for someone roughly human-sized, with armrests and a backrest that would fit a person of Amanda's height perfectly. Around the chair, dozens of curved surfaces projected from the floor at different angles, all covered with symbols and what looked like touch-sensitive panels. "This is a bridge," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "A command center, but it's bigger than anything I've ever seen." Veltar moved to one of the curved surfaces and tried to touch it, but nothing happened. The surface remained dark and unresponsive under his scaled fingers. "The technology does not acknowledge my presence," he said, puzzled. "For 10,000 years, my people have been able to interface with any technology we encountered. This is most unusual." Shard of Truth-Seeking approached another panel, her crystalline form glowing as she tried to resonate with the craft systems. But like Veltar, she received no response. "The quantum fields are present, but they do not recognize my harmonic signature. It is as if the craft considers me ... irrelevant." Amanda walked slowly toward the command chair, feeling the pull grow stronger with each step. The symbols around the chair began to glow brighter as she approached, and she could hear a faint humming sound that seemed to come from inside her own head. "I don't think you should sit in that," Jake warned, but his voice sounded distant and muffled. Amanda reached out and touched the armrest of the chair. The moment her fingers made contact, the entire chamber exploded into activity. The curved surfaces around her lit up with displays showing star charts, technical schematics, and streams of data that flowed too fast to follow. The dome overhead changed from showing stars to displaying what looked like a real-time view of the space around the planet. But most surprising of all was the voice that spoke directly into her mind. "Welcome, child of the bloodline. I am Keeper, guardian of this vessel and chronicler of the lost knowledge. You have been long awaited." Amanda jerked her hand away from the chair, but the displays remained active. The voice continued to speak in her thoughts, though she could tell from the expressions on her companions' faces that they couldn't hear it. "Who are you?" she asked aloud, feeling foolish for talking to empty air. "I am the artificial intelligence created by your ancestors to guard their legacy. You carry the genetic markers of the predecessors, though greatly diluted by time and isolation. Your species has forgotten its origins, but the blood remembers." Jake stepped closer, his weapon still ready. "Amanda, what's happening?" "You're talking to something we can't see or hear." "There's an AI," Amanda said, her voice shaking. "It says it's been waiting for humans. It calls our ancestors the predecessors." Veltara's large eyes widened. "The predecessors are legend among all the elder races. They are said to have vanished from the galaxy over 50,000 years ago, leaving only ruins and myths behind. No one has ever found functional technology from that era. Until now," Shard of Truth-Seeking observed, her form pulsing with agitated light. Amanda approached the chair again, this time sitting down carefully. The moment she settled into the seat, the displays around her became clearer and easier to understand. Information flowed into her mind in a way that bypassed language entirely. "The predecessors were not aliens," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "They were human. They were us 50,000 years ago. We had a civilization. that span the galaxy with technology that makes our current science look primitive. That's impossible, Jake protested. Human civilization is only a few thousand years old. We've only been in space for a couple of centuries. Keeper's voice spoke in Amanda's mind again, and she relayed the information to the others. There was a catastrophe? Something that forced the predecessors to scatter across the galaxy. Most of the colonies died out, but some survived. One group was forced to start over on a primitive world, without technology, without knowledge of their past. Earth, Dr. Hayes said quietly. You're saying we're descendants of refugees. Amanda nodded, tears streaming down her face as more information flowed into her consciousness. The predecessors built this ship and others like it as insurance. They knew their civilization was ending, so they hid their technology and designed it to respond only to their genetic descendants. They were waiting for us to advance enough to find them. Commander Morrison approached one of the display panels again, this time placing his hand on it with deliberate force. To everyone's surprise, the panel lit up under his touch, though not as brightly as the ones responding to Amanda. It works for me too, he said, amazed. Not like it does for you, but it's responding. Dr. Hayes tried the same thing, and several of the panels acknowledged his touch as well. But when Veltar and Shard of Truth-Seeking attempted to interact with the systems, nothing happened. The ship's systems are designed to recognize human genetic markers, Amanda explained, still receiving information from Keeper. Any human can interact with them to some degree, but those with stronger genetic connections to the predecessors can access more advanced functions. What kind of functions? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Amanda's eyes grew wide as new information flooded her mind. This isn't just a ship, it's a key. There are facilities like this hidden throughout the galaxy, all waiting for humans to activate them. The predecessors left us an inheritance, but they also left us a responsibility. What kind of responsibility? Veltar asked, his voice carefully neutral. To be better than they were, Amanda replied. To use their technology wisely and avoid the mistakes that led to their downfall. But first, we have to survive long enough to claim it. Keeper's voice took on an urgent tone in her mind. Warning, multiple ships are approaching this system. Word of your discovery has spread. You have approximately 6 hours before the first vessels arrive. Amanda relayed the message to the others, and Jake immediately began checking his equipment. How many ships? What kind? At least 12 different fleets, Amanda said, her face pale. Zephyrian, Crystalline, Mechanoid, and several others. They're all coming for the ship. And us, Jake added grimly. The only humans who can operate it. Veltar looked conflicted, his forearms moving in complex patterns that indicated deep thought. My people will want to claim this technology for themselves. They will not accept that it belongs to humanity. None of our races will, Shard of Truth-Seeking admitted. The discovery of functional predecessor technology will destabilize the entire galactic power structure. Wars have been fought over much less. Amanda stood up from the command chair, her mind reeling with everything she had learned. Keeper, can this ship defend itself? The defensive systems are fully operational, the AI replied in her thoughts. But they require human operators to function. You must decide quickly whether you are ready to claim your inheritance or whether you will allow others to take it from you. Jake checked his sidearm and looked around the bridge. 12 fleets against one ancient ship. I've faced worse odds, but not by much. Amanda sat in the command chair, her hands trembling as more information flowed through her mind from Keeper. The AI was showing her memories of the predecessors, images of a human civilization that had once ruled the stars. She saw great cities, floating in space, ships that could travel between galaxies, and humans working alongside alien races in peace and prosperity. Show me what happened to them, she whispered, and the other team members watched as tears ran down her face. The images in her mind changed, showing the same civilization but darker, more violent. Humans had become proud and aggressive, believing their technology made them superior to all other forms of life. They had started wars with species that refused to bow to human authority, and their advanced weapons had turned entire solar systems into graveyards. We destroyed ourselves, Amanda said, her voice heavy with sorrow. The predecessors weren't defeated by aliens, they were defeated by their own arrogance and greed. Jake moved closer to the command chair, his face grim. How many died? Billions, Amanda replied, still receiving the terrible images from Keeper. The final war lasted for decades and spread across half the galaxy. When it ended, human civilization was in ruins. The survivors scattered to primitive worlds and started over, but most of them never recovered. Dr. Hayes touched one of the active panels and information flowed into his mind as well. The predecessors who built this ship were part of a group that tried to stop the war. They were scientists and philosophers who saw what was happening to their people and tried to preserve the best of human knowledge for future generations. That's why they locked the technology, Amanda continued. They didn't want future humans to make the same mistakes. The genetic locks aren't just about bloodlines, they're about evolution. The technology will only work for humans who have learned to control their violent impulses. Veltar approached slowly, his forearms moving in a pattern that showed deep respect. The elder races have legends about the time of fire, when the stars themselves seemed to burn. We never knew it was caused by humans. Your people were probably victims of our ancestors' wars, Amanda said sadly. The predecessors' records show that they attacked anyone who wouldn't submit to human rule. Shard of Truth-Seeking's crystalline form pulsed with soft light. Yet here we are working together. Perhaps your species has learned the lessons your ancestors failed to understand. Before Amanda could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The tactical display showed that the first of the approaching fleets had arrived at the edge of the star system. 3 Zephyrian warships were moving toward the planet at maximum speed. They're hailing us, Dr. Hayes reported, checking his communication equipment. Multiple channels, all demanding surrender. Jake studied the tactical display, his military experience helping him analyze the situation. More ships coming in behind them, at least 6 different species represented. They're not working together, which might be our only advantage. Amanda closed her eyes and communicated with Keeper. Can we escape? Just leave the system and find somewhere safe? The ship's drive systems are fully operational, Keeper replied in her mind. But leaving now would abandon the other predecessor sites scattered throughout the galaxy. If other species claim them, they could reverse engineer the technology and use it for their own purposes. What other sites? Amanda asked aloud, and the others leaned in to listen. Research stations, manufacturing facilities, weapon storage depots, she said, relaying Keeper's information. There are 47 major installations hidden throughout the galaxy, all waiting for humans to activate them. If we leave now, we lose access to all of them. And if we stay, we probably die, Jake pointed out practically. Dead humans can't activate anything. The communication system crackled to life, and Veltar's voice filled the bridge. But this wasn't their Veltar. Speaking, this was another Zephyrian, his tone commanding and cold. Human vessel, you are in possession of technology that does not belong to your species. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated with the respect due to honored guests. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Jake activated the communication system before Amanda could stop him. This is Commander Morrison of the Earth Deep Space Fleet. We're conducting a legal, archaeological expedition under Galactic Council authority. Back off, Commander Morrison, the alien voice replied, and Amanda could hear the contempt in his tone. I am Fleet Admiral Zethkara of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. Your species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. You cannot possibly understand the significance of what you have found. Stand down. Actually, we understand it perfectly, Amanda said, taking control of the communication. We understand it better than you ever could, because it belongs to us. There was a long pause before Zethkara responded. Explain. The predecessors were human, Amanda said simply. This ship was built by our ancestors 50,000 years ago. We're not stealing alien technology, we're reclaiming our inheritance. The silence that followed was broken by multiple voices. speaking at once as the various alien commanders began arguing among themselves. Amanda could hear Zephyrian, crystalline, and mechanoid languages all mixed together in heated debate. "You've just started a diplomatic crisis," Veltar observed, but he didn't sound disapproving. "If your claim is true, it changes everything." "The claim is true," Shard of Truth-Seeking said, her form pulsing with certainty. "The resonance patterns in this ship match theoretical models of predecessor technology, and the fact that it responds only to humans supports their genetic connection." More ships dropped out of hyperspace, including several massive crystalline vessels that look like floating cities made of living gem. The tactical display showed over 30 ships now, with more arriving every few minutes. "They're taking positions around the planet," Jake reported. "No one's shooting yet, but they're all ready to fight." Amanda felt Keeper's presence in her mind again. "The situation is becoming unstable. You must make a decision soon. Will you claim the full inheritance of the predecessors, or will you allow others to take it from you?" "What exactly does claiming the inheritance mean?" Amanda asked. "Activating the network of predecessor sites throughout the galaxy, accepting responsibility for the technology they contain, becoming the guardians of their legacy, and if we refuse, the sites will remain dormant and eventually other species will find them. Without the genetic locks, they may be able to reverse engineer the technology through brute force. The safeguards your ancestors put in place will be meaningless." Amanda looked around the bridge at her companions. Dr. Hayes was still interfacing with one of the information panels, his face pale as he absorbed the magnitude of what they had discovered. Jake was studying the tactical situation, calculating odds and planning strategies. Veltar and Shard of Truth-Seeking stood together, representatives of the alien races that had been humanity's friends and allies. "What do you think?" Amanda asked them. "Should we claim this technology for humanity?" "The question is not whether you should claim it," Veltar replied carefully. "The question is whether you can use it responsibly. The predecessors fell because they believed their technology made them superior to all other life. Will modern humans make the same mistake?" "We're already making it," Dr. Hayes said sadly, looking up from the information panel. "The reports coming in from Earth show that news of our discovery has leaked. There are riots in major cities, with humans demanding that we use this technology to establish dominance over other species. And the Galactic Council is meeting an emergency session," Shard of Truth-Seeking added. "Several species are calling for immediate military action to prevent humans from accessing predecessor technology." Jake's expression hardened. "So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. If we claim the technology, we become targets. If we don't claim it, we lose it forever." Amanda closed her eyes and reached out to Keeper again. "Show me the test. Show me what the predecessors wanted their descendants to prove." The AIS response filled her mind with images of the final days of the predecessor civilization. She saw humans who had tried to make peace with their enemies, who had sacrificed their lives to save alien worlds from destruction, who had chosen cooperation over domination even when it meant losing everything. "The test is not about power," she said, opening her eyes. "It's about choice. The predecessors want to know if we've learned to choose cooperation over conquest, peace over war, service over domination. And if we fail the test," Jake asked. "Then we lose access to the technology forever," Amanda replied. "But if we pass it, we become something more than just another species with advanced weapons. We become the guardians of the galaxy's future." The communication system crackled again, and this time it was a new voice. Cold, mechanical, and utterly without emotion. "This is Overmind Unit 7 of the Mechanoid Collective. Analysis indicates the predecessor technology poses unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Recommend immediate sterilization of site and elimination of human operators." "Well," Jake said, checking his weapons, "looks like we're about to find out what our ancestors' war machines can do." The first attack came without warning. 3 mechanoid ships opened fire on the Zephyrian fleet, their energy beams cutting through shields like they were made of paper. The tactical display exploded with light as dozens of ships began shooting at each other, turning the space around the planet into a war zone. "They're not targeting us yet," Jake observed, watching the battle unfold on the screens around them. "They're too busy fighting each other to worry about one ship on the surface." Amanda gripped the armrests of the command chair as Keeper's voice filled her mind. "The ship's defensive systems are online, but you must activate the weapons manually. The predecessors designed the controls to require conscious choice, not automatic response. How do I do that?" Amanda asked aloud, causing the others to look at her with concern. "Place your hands on the weapons control panel and state your intention clearly, but be warned, child of the bloodline. Once you activate the ship's weapons, there will be no turning back. The galaxy will see humans as either saviors or conquerors, depending on how you use this power." Dr. Hayes looked up from the information panel he was studying, his face pale with worry. "Amanda, I'm reading something terrible here. The ship's weapons aren't just advanced, they're planet killers. One shot from this vessel could destroy an entire world." "That's exactly what the predecessors used them for," Amanda said sadly. "Keeper is showing me memories of the final war. They turned dozens of inhabited worlds into dead rocks." Veltar moved closer, his forearms gesturing in patterns that showed deep concern. "If you activate those weapons, even to defend yourselves, every species in the galaxy will unite against humanity. They will see you as the return of the monsters from ancient legends. And if we don't activate them, we'll be captured or killed," Jake pointed out. "Those mechanoid ships will finish with the others soon, and then they'll come for us." As if to prove his point, 3 mechanoid vessels broke away from the main battle and began descending toward the planet's surface. Their sleek, silver hulls reflected the light of the explosions above as they moved with deadly purpose. "Incoming transmission," Dr. Hayes reported. "It's from the mechanoids. This is Overmind Unit 7, human operators of predecessor vessel. You have 60 seconds to evacuate the craft and surrender yourselves for processing. Failure to comply will result in immediate termination." Amanda felt panic rising in her chest. The weapons control panel was right in front of her, glowing with soft blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. All she had to do was reach out and touch it, and she would have enough power to destroy the attacking ships, but she also knew that using that power would make her no different from the ancient humans who had brought destruction to the galaxy. The test wasn't about whether she could use the weapons. It was about whether she would choose not to use them. "There has to be another way," she said, her voice shaking. "Keeper, show me the ship's other systems. There must be something besides." Weapons. Information flowed into her mind, showing her the ship's incredible capabilities. It had shields that could deflect any known weapon, engines that could travel faster than anything in the current galaxy, and communication systems that could reach across vast distances instantly. "The communication array," she said suddenly. "I can contact every ship in the system at once on all frequencies. I can make them listen." 40 seconds, Jake warned. Watching the mechanoid ships approach, Amanda placed her hands on the communication controls and felt the ship's systems respond to her touch. "This is Dr. Amanda Clark speaking from the predecessor vessel. I'm transmitting on all frequencies to every ship in this system." "You're wasting time," Jake said urgently. "Those ships will be in firing range in 30 seconds. "I know what I'm doing," Amanda replied, though she wasn't sure that was true. "Listen to me, all of you. I could destroy your ships right now. This vessel has weapons that could turn your fleets into dust in minutes, but I'm not going to use them." She could hear confused voices responding on dozens of different channels as the various fleet commanders tried to understand what she was saying. 20 seconds, Jake warned. "The predecessors fell because they chose violence over cooperation," Amanda continued. "They used their advanced technology to dominate other species instead of working with them. I won't make the same mistake." 10 seconds, Jake said, his hand moving toward the weapons panel. "I'm powering down all weapon systems," Amanda announced, and she actually did it, watching as the weapons displays went dark around her. "I'm also lowering our shields." Any of you could destroy us now with a single shot. Jake stared at her. In shock. Amanda, what are you doing? The right thing, she replied, though her voice was shaking with fear. I'm showing them that humans have learned the lessons our ancestors failed to understand. The mechanoid ships stopped their descent just a few hundred meters above the craft. Amanda could see them on the external cameras, their weapons trained. On the ship but not firing. This is unexpected, came the cold mechanical voice of Overmind Unit 7. Analysis indicates human behavior inconsistent with historical patterns. Requesting clarification of intentions. My intentions are simple, Amanda said into the communication system. I want to share the predecessor technology with all species, not use it to dominate them. The ancient humans made the mistake of believing that superior technology made them superior beings. We won't make that mistake. Impossible, came the voice of Fleet Admiral Zethkara from the Zephyrian fleet. No species voluntarily shares technological advantages. It violates all principles of survival and competition. Maybe that's why the galaxy has been fighting wars for thousands of years, Amanda replied. Maybe it's time to try something different. Dr. Hayes looked up from his information panel, his eyes wide with amazement. Amanda, I'm seeing something incredible here. The predecessor sites aren't just weapons and ships? There are medical facilities that could cure any disease, terraforming equipment that could make dead worlds habitable, and manufacturing centers that could provide unlimited resources. Enough to transform the entire galaxy, Amanda said, still feeling information flow from Keeper. But only if we work together. The sites are designed to require cooperation between different species. No single race can operate them alone. You're serious about this, Veltar said, his voice filled with wonder. You would actually share this technology with your former enemies. They're not our enemies, Amanda replied. They're our neighbors. The predecessors forgot that, and it destroyed them. We won't forget it. Shard of Truth-Seeking's crystalline form pulsed with bright light. The resonance patterns are changing. The ship is responding to your words, to your choices. It's accepting you as worthy of the inheritance. Amanda felt something shift in her connection with Keeper. The AI's voice became warmer, more approving. You have passed the first test, child of the bloodline, but greater challenges await. The galaxy is not ready to accept your offer of cooperation. Many will see it as weakness and try to take the technology by force. Then we'll prove them wrong. Amanda said firmly, we'll show them that cooperation is stronger than competition, that working together achieves more than fighting alone. The communication channels erupted with dozens of voices as the various fleet commanders argued among themselves. Some called for immediate attack while the human ship was defenseless. Others demanded proof that the offer of cooperation was genuine. A few suggested that this might be an opportunity for a new kind of galactic civilization. This is Fleet Admiral Chin of the Earth Defense Force, came a new voice, and Amanda felt relief flood through her as she heard human voices joining the conversation. We've been monitoring the situation. Dr. Clark, you have full authority to negotiate on behalf of humanity. And I'm negotiating for peace, Amanda replied, for cooperation. For a future where all species work together instead of fighting each other. The Crystalline Collective is willing to consider your proposal, chimed a musical voice. But we require guarantees and safeguards. The power you offer could be used to destroy as easily as to create. The safeguards are built into the technology itself, Amanda explained. The predecessor sites require operators from multiple species. No single race can control them alone. We have to work together, or the technology remains dormant. Jake was studying the tactical display, watching as more ships continued to arrive in the system. Amanda, we've got over 100 vessels out there now. Half the galaxy's fleets are converging on this location, even if some of them are willing to. Listen, others will try to take the ship by force. Then we'll be ready for them, Amanda said, but she wasn't touching the weapons controls. Instead, she was activating the ship's communication array to its maximum range. Keeper, can we broadcast to the entire galaxy? The communication system can reach every inhabited world within 1,000 light years, the AI replied. But such a transmission will reveal the location of every predecessor site to anyone listening. Good, Amanda said. It's time for the galaxy to know the truth about what we've found and what we're offering to share. Oh, Amanda, Dr. Hayes said urgently. You're about to change everything? Are you sure we're ready for this? Amanda placed her hands on the galaxy-wide communication controls, feeling the enormous power of the predecessor's ship flowing through her fingertips. Around her, the bridge hummed with energy as the ancient systems prepared to broadcast her message to every inhabited world within 1,000 light years. Are you ready for this? Jake asked, standing beside the command chair with his hand resting on his weapon. Even though Amanda had chosen peace, his military training kept him alert for threats. No one could be ready for this, Amanda replied honestly. But we can't wait any longer. Every minute we delay, more ships arrive and the situation gets more dangerous. Dr. Hayes monitored the communication systems, his face tense with concentration. The array is charging up. When you're ready, your voice will reach over 10 million inhabited worlds simultaneously. Veltar approached slowly, his forearms moving in gestures of respect and concern. What you are about to do will change the course of galactic history. My people have ruled through strength and wisdom for 10,000 years. Your offer of shared technology will challenge everything we believe about power and leadership. Maybe. It's time for those beliefs to change, Amanda said gently. The predecessors believed that might made right and it destroyed them. We have a chance to do something different. Shard of truth-seeking's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. The crystalline collective has always valued harmony and cooperation, but even we have never imagined sharing our deepest secrets with other species. What you propose goes against millions of years of evolutionary instinct. Then maybe it's time to evolve beyond instinct, Amanda replied. The tactical display showed that the space battle above them had stopped. Over 200 ships from dozens of different species now hung motionless around the planet, all waiting to hear what she would say. Some were there out of curiosity, others out of greed, and many out of fear. But they were all listening. The transmission array is ready, Dr. Hayes announced. You're connected to the Galactic Communication Network. Everything you say will be recorded and broadcast to every major world in this region of space. Amanda took a deep breath and felt Keeper's presence in her mind, offering support and encouragement. The AI had waited 50,000 years for this moment, for a human descendant of the predecessors to make the choice that their ancestors had failed to make. People of the galaxy, Amanda began, her voice carrying across space to countless worlds. My name is Dr. Amanda Clark. I'm speaking to you from a ship built by my ancestors 50,000 years ago. A ship that has just revealed the greatest secret in galactic history. She paused, knowing that her next words would change everything. The beings you call the predecessors were human. They were our ancestors, members of a spacefaring civilization that once ruled the stars. They fell not because they were defeated by enemies, but because they were defeated by their own pride and violence. The communication channels erupted with thousands of voices as beings across the galaxy reacted to her words. Some demanded proof, others called her a liar, and many simply asked questions in languages she couldn't understand. I know this is hard to believe, Amanda continued. But the evidence is here, in this ship and in 46 other installations hidden throughout the galaxy. The predecessors built these facilities as a safeguard, hoping that their descendants would one day be wise enough to use their technology responsibly. Jake moved to the tactical display, watching as more ships continued to arrive in the system. Amanda, we've got incoming vessels from the Galactic Council. They're demanding that we surrender the ship for inspection. Let them come, Amanda said, still speaking into the galactic communication array. I'm not hiding anything. The technology exists, and it's more powerful than anything any of our species currently possess. It includes weapons that could destroy entire solar systems, medical devices that could cure any disease, and manufacturing systems that could provide unlimited resources for every world in the galaxy. "This is impossible," came the voice of Fleet Admiral Zethkara over the communication system. "No species would voluntarily share such advantages with potential rivals." "That's exactly the thinking that destroyed the predecessors," Amanda replied. "They saw every other species as either subjects to be ruled or enemies to be destroyed. They never considered the possibility of equals to be partnered with." Dr. Hayes looked up from his information panel, his eyes wide with excitement. "Amanda, I'm getting responses from archaeological teams on dozens of worlds. They're reporting that ancient ruins in their regions are suddenly showing signs of activity. The network is activating." "Because I've passed the test," Amanda said, feeling Keeper's approval flowing through her mind. "The predecessors designed their technology to remain dormant until their descendants proved they had learned the lessons of cooperation and peace. And what exactly are you proposing?" asked a new voice, cold and mechanical. It was Overmind Unit 7 of the Mechanoid Collective. How would this theoretical cooperation function in practice? "The predecessor sites are designed to require operators from multiple species," Amanda explained. "No single race can control them alone. To access the medical facilities, you need human genetic markers, Zephyrian neural patterns, crystalline harmonic resonance, and mechanoid computational interfaces working together." "Forced cooperation," observed Veltar. "The technology compels us to work together whether we want to or not." "Not forced," Amanda corrected. "Incentivized. The benefits are so great that cooperation becomes the obvious choice. Why fight over limited resources when you can work together to create unlimited ones?" Shard of truth-seeking chimed with musical tones. "The Crystalline Collective's analysts are confirming your claims. Our deep space sensors detect energy signatures from predecessor sites throughout our territory. They are indeed activating in response to your broadcast." "This is Fleet Admiral Chun of Earth Defense," came a familiar human voice. "Dr. Clark, the Galactic Council is demanding immediate negotiations. They want to establish protocols for accessing this technology." "Good," Amanda said. "That's exactly what I was hoping for." "But the negotiations don't happen in council chambers or through diplomatic channels. They happen at the predecessor sites with representatives from every species working together to unlock the technology." "You're asking us to trust each other with our most sensitive technologies and capabilities," pointed out a Zephyrian commander. "Such trust has never existed in the history of the galaxy?" "Then maybe it's time to create that trust," Amanda replied. "The alternative is what happened to the predecessors. Endless war, mutual destruction, and the collapse of civilization." Jake was monitoring the tactical situation, his expression growing concerned. "Amanda, we've got a problem. 3 fleets are refusing to participate in any negotiations. They're moving to attack positions." "Which fleets?" Amanda asked, though she suspected she already knew. "Crevan Empire, Void Hunters, and the Savage Clans," Jake replied. "They're demanding that we surrender the ship immediately, or they'll take it by force." Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. These were the most aggressive and militaristic species in the galaxy, the ones most likely to use predecessor technology for conquest rather than cooperation. "Keeper," she said silently, communicating with the AI through her mental link. "What happens if hostile forces try to seize the ship?" "The ship's defenses will activate automatically," Keeper replied. "But only to protect the technology from misuse. The weapon systems will not function for beings who fail the moral tests." "And if they try to reverse engineer the technology?" "Impossible without the proper genetic and neural interfaces. But they could destroy the sites in their attempts to access them." Amanda made her decision. "This is Dr. Amanda Clark to all vessels in this system. I'm activating the ship's protective protocols. Any vessel that approaches with hostile intent will be disabled, not destroyed. I will not use predecessor weapons to kill, but I will use them to protect the technology from those who would misuse it." The first attack came from the Crevan Empire. Their massive dreadnought fired its main weapons at the predecessor ship, beams of energy that could have melted a mountain. But the ancient vessel's shields absorbed the attack effortlessly, and return fire disabled the Crevan ship's weapons and engines without harming the crew. "How is this possible?" demanded the Crevan commander. "Our weapons are the most powerful in the galaxy. Your weapons are 5,000 years old compared to predecessor technology," Amanda replied calmly. "But I'm not here to demonstrate superiority. I'm here to offer partnership." One by one, the other hostile fleets attempted to attack or board the ship, and one by one they were disabled by defensive systems that seemed almost gentle in their efficiency. No one was killed, but every aggressive vessel found itself floating helplessly in space. "The demonstration is complete," Amanda announced to the galaxy. "Predecessor technology cannot be taken by force or used for conquest. It can only be accessed through cooperation and shared for the benefit of all species." "This is Counselor Prime Zindara of the Galactic Council," came a new voice, elderly and wise. "Dr. Clark, we are prepared to begin formal negotiations for the establishment of joint predecessor research facilities."